Welcome back to another episode of It's All Been Trucked Before. This time, Plato's Stepchildren. Yeah, a lot of disagreement on this episode. Okay, I disagree with everyone else. That's a disagreement in this episode. But anyway, you can get into that, and maybe you're with me. Maybe you're Team Woosley, or maybe you're Team Rational Thought. It remains to be seen. Speaking of teams, one of our newest podcasts here on the IABD Presents network, It's All Been Done. A Bare Naked Ladies podcast. Yeah, if you have a vague remembrance of the Bare Naked Ladies from the late 90s and early aughts, you are in good company. Join friends Evan and Saker. Am I saying that? Saker, right? Saker? That's a great name. As they hazily stumble through every single Bare Naked Ladies song, 1 week at a time, from the first album to the last, driving themselves insane along the way. Do you know anything about BNL? That's probably more than they do. Strap in for pet theories about vampires, retirement homes, murders, and more with It's All Been Done, a Bare Naked Ladies podcast. I can't wait till they get to 1 week. I hope they talk about the killer golfer. Maybe I'll send them an email. Maybe you should send them an email. Maybe I'll do it. Anyway, also another great new podcast we've got, The Squatch Smashers. You know, a lot of audio drama podcasts feature a Monster Hunter host, vampire co-host, a stylish steampunk murderbot named Jenny, and Elvis as a necromancer. But Squash Smashers Comedy Podcast likes to think this stands out from the others in that they also have an old guy in a wheelchair. Hey, inclusive. Look at that. Plus, there's a free t-shirt for every 1 millionth listener. That could be you, my dear friend. Season 2 of Squash Smashers drops September 1st. That's like in a couple days. So you're already, if you've already listened to season 1. If not, go back and listen to the guys on season 1. And I just mentioned these two great newer podcasts we've got. These podcasts don't grow on trees, even though it seems like it. Please go to patreon.com/IABD. Support us there. And we'll keep finding more great podcasts for you. We might not be able to find them on trees. We'll have to go digging deep. Much as they do here in Plato's Stepchildren on It's All Been Trucked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trucked Before. There are many people here today. Let's start with your normal hosts.
This is Steven.
Keith. Jimmy-Jerome. And then we welcome back a couple of previous guests.
Hi, Sam's here.
And
I'm Marianne.
Yay! So we have 5 of us here to discuss Plato's children, although we think of ourselves more as Plato's stepchildren.
I don't think of any of you as
Giggle.
normal.
He went.
First impressions of the episode.
I was just, there were like very few moments where I was not writing a comment about something that was happening, so.
Is that good or bad?
Both. I think that,
We shall see.
it's a fine line because when you spend this much time writing, you kind of miss out on a few things, but I meant I was engaged with it, so.
That's why you should always watch the episodes twice before we talk about them. I don't, but you should.
I didn't remember a lot about this episode. As I watched, I was like, oh yeah, I remember. Now I remember that. But I remembered I didn't really care for it. And that was not changed by watching it.
No. I had the same recollection. I think I've seen this, and then as things happen, it's like, oh yeah, okay. As I've grown, because I saw it when I was a wee child, I liked it. I mean, of course I liked it back then, but I loved the dancing. I loved the shipping of Alexander and Kirk together. I mean,
oh my god, I was hard shipping Alexander and Kirk.
It was like, oh come on.
They were so cute together.
So buddies. I mean,
So
it's
cute.
like they were just like next to each other all the time, and I was like, oh kiss right there.
Yeah.
Do it.
No kidding. Steven shaking his head.
I did not share those sentiments.
I was going to ask them, would you say that you found it funnier this time?
Yeah.
Watching anything with a group kind of makes
Well, yeah.
We were all making
definitely
our comments.
funnier. As a kid, it was like, this is just jive. I don't care for this at all. And now it's...
That old man slang that you got going on.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen this one before. I've read about all the episodes,
Yeah.
but this was one of the ones I haven't seen. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was great, but I don't think it was bad.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the experience. Mm-hmm. I think for season 3 standards, it's pretty decent.
probably my favorite of season 3 so far, just because of the enjoyability.
I mean, I've got the list pulled up right now, and I don't think it's going to be number 1 for me. Honestly, might crack the top 5 out of 10, but not by much. We'll see. We'll talk about that at the end.
Yeah, I don't know. This one, obviously, if you've heard me on previous episodes, I'm the least knowledgeable about Star Trek. Haven't watched any of it till I started watching with you guys. So I thought it was really funny. and I recognized a lot of GIFs that I use on our Twitter feed, so I was like, oh, that's really funny that most of them came from this episode. It was
At least
really
3
goofy.
that you pointed
At
out.
least, yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, I've used
It
that
is
one a
funny,
couple
but
times.
not intentional.
But then when you watch it, you're like, oh, this is its context. Okay.
And Keith really liked the After
Entertaining.
Dark screensaver reference.
Yeah, fine.
Unless it's only intentionally funny if you like the ending when he says, "I have a little surprise for you."
Oh my god.
That
I
was
was
the
like, you guys did
greatest.
so well. And then at the end was like, ow.
I mean, I thought it was a little bit preachy when he's like, where I come from, it
Oh.
doesn't matter the size or shape.
Oh.
But at the same time, I'm like, good for you for saying that. Like, my first thought when he said, are there any people like me where
Right.
you come from? My first thought is still he means dwarf.
Sure.
This is 50 years later, and I love that to Kirk. I really felt the way Shatner played it.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk, it never even occurred to Kirk that that's what he was talking about. Like, Kirk purely was like, mental ability. What? No, we're not talking about that. Why would we talk about that?
During
And I
the
like
crisis,
that.
he didn't think about it, but when everything was settled, then it was time to get to
Oh,
the short
God.
jokes.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Then we
this-
could get to the short
The short
jokes.
joke was bad. I'm not going to
was
excuse it.
terrible.
I'm just saying I thought Shatner played that
It's-
initial scene very well.
Yes.
Although
I'll give you that.
you don't see any dwarves in the ship.
That's true.
They don't
So-
really show the ship that often.
But if we think of dwarves as a percentage of the population, and we've only seen a few dozen people on the Enterprise, I mean, yeah, it's reasonable that we haven't seen one. While there could be a high admiral giving them orders, that's a dwarf. You know, like,
Sorry, we only see him from the waist up.
And it was like it's 2268 in the timeline, and I would like to hope that all of this racism and sizeism and ageism is passed by that time.
When Spock came in, or I'm sorry, Shatner came in and Kirk, it didn't even occur to him that this person was different than him.
Well,
and I was like, that should be.
I mean, and
It was great.
That character was so fully developed, so complex. I'm thinking now, if that character was on television, they would still talk about him being a dwarf, and they would still get into that, which is frustrating. But I
We have
like
Tyrion on Game of Thrones right now.
True. Yeah, the fact that it's still relevant today, and that this episode treated this character so well. I mean, you look through Michael Dunn's IMDb page; he's credited as the dwarf. Bodo,
Well,
some ridiculous names.
At the time, I knew him from Wild Wild West because
Yeah, he
was
did 10 episodes.
He was an arch villain. He was awesome on
Dr.
there.
Lovelace.
So I knew him from there, and I was like, "Oh, that's the dude from Wild Wild West." So, and he was the bad guy in there, which was awesome.
Yeah.
He's also Oscar nominated. He was an Oscar nominated actor.
Really?
Yeah.
For what?
Oh, that's
I thought he was really, really excellent.
He was always a good
died at
actor.
age 38.
Yeah.
That's so sad in the
Yeah.
70s. Early 70s, only a few years after
Yeah,
this.
yeah, very young.
He's British.
Yes.
Or, no, he
Or
was
he
born
died-
in Oklahoma,
he died
but he died in Britain.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was just going to say that, I mean, some of the things he was saying, like, I want to be able to feel these things for myself, implying that someone would be controlling him or having been controlling him in the past. I would think that getting those powers would put him on an even playing field and give him autonomy at that point so he could do whatever he wanted, not lay about, not be
You can
forced
do
to feel
what you
something.
want to do, yeah.
So I think his reasoning was kind of...
I didn't understand I lost the timeline thread because I thought he said they brought him to be their court buffoon, right?
Yes.
But
Then he said he was there with everyone, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so they kept him
Yeah.
alive, so he might be the last of his.
Yeah, it sounded like when they did all genetic
the eugenics. Yeah, I like how they slipped that in there.
He was not part of the eugenics experiment. He's the last one they just left.
Okay,
Oh, I
that
didn't
makes
hear- I
sense.
didn't hear any of that.
Because I took that as he didn't have the powers then. Because we learned later the only reason he doesn't have the powers is because...
I wondered that too when they started talking about the eugenics.
That makes sense.
I was wondering about him.
Yeah, but I like how they just slipped that in. That, we had a eugenics thing. We got it down to 38 people. Which sounded like...
And Alexander.
To me, it sounded like a hee-haw salute. Planet Sandera, population 38. Salute! And it also got around the problem we have with other episodes where it's like, we're on this giant planet. We see 12 people.
Yeah.
They're like, there's only 38, so don't worry if you don't.
The one time I had a complaint about that is when they were watching the Enterprise
Yeah,
through mind control.
and there were 7 other people.
And there were like 7 people.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, no. All 38 would have turned out for that.
That was the weird part is they looked like they were like this was the area and they had the worst seats behind them.
They were behind a column. They're behind a column. Yeah, it's like they had to pay a smaller fee. The ticket price wasn't as high.
Ticket prices were a little
Yeah.
bit.
But, I mean,
Obstructed
the others
seating.
are meditating in the room, but Stranger comes for the first time in a long time. Don't you come out for that?
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well-
we don't, I was going to say that we don't know what their society structure is exactly because when you said that he said he was brought in, as the buffoon. I guess that could also imply that there was a royal area that it was in, like the palace. He's brought into the palace with them, and maybe there's some.
Well, it
other
sounded like they all
ordinary-
lived there. Because he said they were all in the other rooms and he had to serve them all, which first of all, I don't know how one person can serve 38 people. That seems ridiculous. But I feel like we only saw a handful of their people.
Yeah.
So maybe most of them were like, hey dudes, we don't want any part of your foolishness.
Yeah.
Right.
But the one guy was the most powerful, and then we saw the suck-ups next to him, and everybody else was like, nah, we're staying out of it.
So they came there, ate the food, stumbled across they had these powers, and there were no native people there.
Right.
apparently.
Right.
Yeah, because they fled their homeworld, apparently stopped at Earth, met Plato, figured, like, that dude's awesome. Then Greek society fell, they're like, crap, we're getting out of here.
We're out.
And then they just kind
Oh.
of
And then they found another planet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which was way too convoluted and ridiculous, but I like that better than we parallel evolved Pluto.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Which they've done in other
slightly
episodes.
better. But-
So it reminded me. I wrote this first thing down. Reminds me of Space I Claudius. I was like,
Yes.
I love I
Yeah.
Claudius, and this would be so cool. Oh, well, kind of like
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
I could cut from my mind.
Yeah, for me, they didn't use that excuse of a parallel Earth, but it still, for me, it feels.
Oh,
the
it
same.
feels
It's
like
the
it was
same.
just slightly better
Like,
explained.
yeah.
Although it's still kind of ridiculous.
Can you go back to that for a second? I guess I missed some of that exposition. So they went to ancient Greece and
Yes.
met Plato.
I don't know if they
Sorry,
met him
Pluto.
exactly,
Plato.
but they read his works and they were impressed by him, and then they left after the fall of Greek society.
Well, and Spock has a quote where he's like, "No, Plato was for justice above all," which
Right.
I read. He was accurate. He was right. Not
Of
not
course he
surprisingly,
was.
Spock was
Of
right.
course he was.
Yeah.
When the woman is talking at the beginning, she pauses and says 2.5, pause, and then says something else. What is that? Was she?
I think she was going to say 2.5 centuries or whatever. Isn't it 2.5 centuries?
They
Mother, or
weren't very
2.5
clear on the
million?
timeline because
2,500.
she
I guess it's
talked about
2,500
being,
years.
2,300 years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
But they were at Earth 2,500 years ago, but she remembers being at Earth. Like, they were kind of messy with the timeline.
So I was like, I was thinking that they were going to say that they brought her in 2.5 years ago from another spaceship, and so
Oh.
she just gathered the
Falana?
power. Yeah, Falana.
She's either great for 2,500 or whatever.
Yeah, there could have been some
I still
time
teach him at
dilation or
30.
something too with
Yeah,
space travel. Who knows?
the whole I'm not vain. How old do I look? 35. Oh, well, that's not aging at 30. I love that. I thought that was
And
really good.
I know I've brought this up many times, but I think Spock was talking Vulcan years, not Earth years.
Yeah.
I think she was talking Earth years, or maybe she was talking Platonius years.
And the actress was 31 when this episode aired.
Oh, that's
so-
even better.
Well, and like she touches her neck, and one thing that reminds me,
Yes.
like what's really funny is my grandmother's always said, take care of your hands and your neck, because that will
Huh.
give away your age. And the fact that like that's the first thing she touches made me think of my grandma. So.
With her hand.
Yeah, like,
See?
you
It's a
you
good-
know?
it's a-
Oh God.
We should talk briefly about this was Barbara Babcock's 5th episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
6 of
Name,
6.
name did seem familiar. I couldn't-
We last saw her as a voice,
Yeah.
so heard her
Oh.
in the Tholian Web, which was just the previous episode. And she was the voice of the Beta 5 computer in Assignment Earth. She was also Mia 3 in A Taste of Armageddon.
Yeah.
And she was Trelane's mother's voice in The Squire of
That's
Gothos.
right, yeah.
She will her last episode is she's Zetar in The Lights of Zetar, which again is a
But
voice.
just a voice, yeah.
So mostly voice roles, but it's nice to see her.
Yeah, she fashion-wise, fashion. I loved her outfit.
Yeah.
I thought she looked great. I
I
thought it
love her
was.
earrings.
Do you think she had the
Yeah.
best outfit of any of them?
I think
Yes.
you gotta get to the main event though for fashion.
Oh, when they bring the ladies down.
And
Oh,
Kirk
Kirk's
flashing
Kirk's
the nipple.
got yeah.
And his super short skirt.
yeah,
His
that-
skirt was so much shorter than Nimoy's. I was like,
it was pretty close. I'd say to
Okay,
Nimoy's.
That was
Like
Nichelle
an
Nichols
inch
getting
maybe.
revenge. No,
Yeah.
just kidding.
Oh, the
You know,
brand.
Shatner probably was like, nope, raise it up, raise it up, raise it up.
I've been working out these legs and shaving them
it
for a
means
reason.
a
Oh,
lot
the legs are not
when,
straight.
when it comes to
They were
your
messy.
thighs. If you wear shorts and you're like, okay, here, and then you're like, no, let's raise them up another inch, Keith,
Yeah.
you're gonna be like, oh God, I feel weird. Trust me.
Yeah.
Well, that reminded me of school, and I don't know if they said the same thing you guys, but girls couldn't wear skirts. Like you have to stand up straight and put your hands
Past the fingertips.
Yeah, your hem has to be at or past your fingertips. And I was like, his whole hand was like past the hem, and I was like, ha ha.
I noticed there was a scene where they were standing still listening to Parman, I guess, and there was just that scene of Kirk with his arms just stock still. He kept, what do I do with my hands, kind of thing. Spock got to hold him behind his back as usual, which looked pretty good with it, but Kirk was just like I'm a little awkward, but maybe I made a bad choice here.
Parman was played by Liam Sullivan, and this is what he's best known for. He has 123 credits, but this is the one.
And I
he's
guess
best
he
known for.
played a villain a lot. Is what he had a lot of credits.
guest spots.
Yeah, a lot of guest spots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably should.
Also known for the Twilight Zone,
Speaking
the
of
Magic Sword.
kind of
and
going with
Bat's
fashion,
Uh-huh.
Spock needed to trim his fingernails. One of them was like, they had him
I
going
saw,
like
yeah.
this.
Steepling his hands and
And-
fingers.
I thought so too, and then they switched angles and it looked like the one
There was
a
just
finger was
one nail,
leaning
like he had
over.
broken his
Well, the
nail.
one finger was leaning over, and then I was like, I think it was just an angle that made his fingernail look so ridiculous.
That's how they do it on Vulcan, you guys.
Okay.
Come on.
Was
Their Coke finger isn't the pinky. It's the pointer finger.
It didn't have a problem with them being long. As long as they're clean, I'm fine with that. It looked ragged, is what it looked like to me. And I was like, you need to file your nails.
Well, and their Coke finger has to be there because forcing emotions on a Vulcan will kill them.
Right, I wrote that as a note. Okay,
What
what's
the
happening about?
hell?
What is that?
No, they have emotions. They just suppress them.
And he's half
Yeah.
human, as Marianne pointed out.
I didn't like that their headdresses were obviously fake. I wanted at least real
Right.
leaves on the headdress.
I had many issues with the powers they had and how limited they were, and
They weren't controlling anybody's speech until they were, and then they weren't again.
Right.
And stuff like it was
And
inconsistent.
then it was eyeline and not eyeline, and then it could go all the way out to the atmosphere and then not. Like
they couldn't figure out what Parman needed to help himself. But once McCoy got it out, he could inject himself with it. How could they not? How could they? What utopian society doesn't have a skilled physician? But they had 2,500 years to sit around and read books. Somebody should have
Yeah.
figured
And
it out.
they had Hippocratic.
Yeah, they had the entire book.
The little thing,
The
a
scrolls.
scroll of all his cures.
But they had to look into the Enterprise coming by, like, oh, we need a doctor.
Well,
Let's
the
get
thing
him.
is, why does it have to be McCoy? McCoy says no. Okay, there's a bunch of other doctors.
Give
on
him
the
a
ship.
bingo.
And you know what? Put something on Craigslist back on Earth. Somebody will answer to that
Yes.
ad.
I'm
and
sure
come.
Craigslist would still be around.
Well, whatever they
channel
come
down.
down.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm a Craigslist.
Jimmy made a
account
great
still
point. Why
around.
not sell it for a volunteer physician? That's from Keith's notes. Yeah, there would definitely be somebody on Earth willing to come take that job.
This is the perfect example of if you don't use it, you lose it. So they didn't use their immune system for thousands
That's
of
right.
years, and so
Good point.
the guy gets a tiny cut, and all of a sudden,
All of a sudden, he's Robert Baratheon and
Yeah.
he's dying.
Exactly.
Infection. Game of Thrones.
They kind of explain this, but they're like, oh, well, you guys can leave, but McCoy, and they're like, well, he would have killed you anyway, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I feel like, why wouldn't Kirk just be like, all right, cool, and then at least you have a way to get some distance and play,
I
rather
don't
than
think they
like,
would have got any distance. I
I
think
don't
they would
know.
have been back and just crashed the ship on the other side of the planet.
yeah, but they wouldn't have to beam back right away.
I just thought that McCoy was a little bit non-heroic when they're like, we won't kill you. We'll let your friends leave if you'll sign on. And McCoy's like, I got my orders. And I'm like, no, if that was Kirk, he'd be like, no, yes, sacrifice me.
Right,
And McCoy's like, nah, Kirk told me not to,
Right.
so I'm
Yeah.
not going to.
Well, they just gave all those moments during the torture porn, which I'll get into as well. I'm just like, don't say yes. It's like, no, just say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
Say
okay.
whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because they weren't separating.
Because if he says no, they torture them and then they kill them. If he says yes,
They just kill.
if they just kill them, then fine, whatever. And so I don't know they're getting tortured before getting killed. I guess it played out that way, but
I did not like that. Was
I don't
a
like
weird.
it. I don't
didn't like it.
So while we're on those lines, do you think Kirk just finally asserted the mental control when he did it with the whip, or do you think he was like, I'm gonna kiss Uhura before I show them that my powers?
He could have been faking for a while, it looked like.
I would not blame him if he did. And again, that's one of the big fallacies for me this episode. No one has ever been forced to kiss Nichelle Nichols.
Well, see, I don't think I didn't understand the hesitation when somewhere along those lines where I'm like, look, two attractive people, they're coworkers.
Yeah.
I understand they don't want a relationship. That's fine. But look, they're gonna torture us if we don't kiss. Not a big deal. Let's just kiss for a
Right.
minute.
I think she was when she was giving her little speech, like, you know, I thought of you, and when I was scared, and you would make me not scared. That's like, just kiss him, please. My goodness.
Yeah, the same thing with Chapel and Spock. Like, why is she fighting it? I
yeah.
get the point of, okay, I want to do this on the right terms, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like, look, they're gonna torture us. We can kiss for a minute. It's cool.
I thought it was very, and I don't know if
It's not like they're making us have sex.
and you guys watch Smallville,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
they would always
Yes, I did.
they would always throw in the bad kryptonite to make them do weird
Yeah.
things they shouldn't,
Yeah.
and they would use that to
Yeah.
accelerate different storylines or whatever.
Let's
people
hook
making
up
out
this
with people they
people
shouldn't
now,
be.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought this was very similar. In fact, in this instance, I wish they'd spent more time on Spock and Chapel and Kirk and Uhura.
Yeah.
Those great
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah.
And Chapel and
Also-
Uhura both looked great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. In the '60s, for whatever reason, just painting little squares on people's faces was
Yeah,
what
that
they
was
thought the
so
future of
pretty,
makeup was going to
yeah. It was like, let's do metallic silver.
Uh-huh.
And
Uhura's nails.
oh, her nails were
Yeah.
Yeah.
so good.
On
Yeah.
fleek? Is that what the kids say?
I guess they used to, maybe.
They
Like
did
a
until
week
they heard me
ago.
say it.
I loved Falada's earrings.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
were cool.
Those were super
Beautiful.
cool and pretty too. I really
Yeah, like I
want-
said, we skipped fashion way too
We did.
quickly because there's a lot
We're
of
just
fashion.
weaving,
in
we're
this
weaving in
episode.
and out
Yes,
of it.
we
We're
will.
weaving in and out.
There's a lot to unpack in this.
Why would he want to have his chest shot?
It's called a nerd.
Him Shatner or him Kirk?
Shatner.
Shatner would
always wanted
the
it.
show is
Yeah.
self-topless.
So the one note I had when we were talking about, Chapel and Spock and Uhura and Kirk, kissing and so much talking. I'm sorry,
Yes.
but if you're being tortured and forced to do something, there would not be that much talking. They're not going
Yeah.
to wait around for you to have your
Are
discussion.
you speaking from experience from all the times you were tortured in the Navy?
I mean, things happen. You're out to sea. But no, it's just.
From a logical point of view, that makes sense. Like I said, I wanted more of them talking about what's going on, and I also wanted more making out too. But
Right, well, I agree with both those points, but I'm also, because I've never
Yeah.
seen this episode, and I know that they kiss, and I
Yeah.
know the history
Yeah,
of the
you're right.
kiss, but I'm a little disappointed in the context of the kiss,
Yeah.
in that they were forced,
So-
Yeah,
quote
of
unquote
course.
forced.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
like,
it's okay then,
So
exactly, but I was a little disappointed in
actually,
that.
the way to work that is they kiss and talk.
Yeah.
So then we're all
I mean-
happy because they're making out and they're talking.
I definitely got the feeling
I'm
that
happy,
they
I
want
should
to
say.
kiss each other, but the
Yeah.
context in that they're mind controlled, or their
Yeah.
not mind controlled, but their bodies are being controlled. That disappointed me.
So we made it almost a half an hour in without talking about the first interracial kiss on television. No, but the network executives, that's how Star Trek tried to justify it by saying it was
Yeah.
forced. And the network executives would not take that for an answer. And it became this huge thing on the set where they weren't going to let Shatner do it.
Yeah.
Because even forced. Because they were not going to air that on television. And they did have some local affiliates protest and not air the episode because of it. But Shatner really wanted to do it. And they
Yeah.
were, and
Well,
they
I think
did
I
go
read
both
that-
ways, but he screwed up the take
Yeah.
on purpose. Where they didn't actually show their lips, show the kiss because he was like, no, we're getting this kiss on television.
Well, initially it was going to be Spock and her, and
Yeah, and
Kirk-
Shatner was like,
Shatner
no,
said,
no, it's me.
if anyone's going to kiss her, it's going to be me. I mean, Kirk.
No, but the fact that it was a big deal that even forced they couldn't show it.
Yeah.
That's...
And with the time period, it makes sense, but it was just the first time seeing the episode.
Well-
One of the reasons I came on this, I was like, I really wanted to
And
watch
one of the
this.
things I read was wasn't necessarily the first interracial kiss because they started specifying
Yeah, that
white,
says-
Hispanic, white, Asian,
Okay.
whatever, but
This-
which is insane that we're whatever.
First interracial kiss on American television occurred previously with Move In with Nancy, when Nancy Sinatra kissed Sammy Davis Jr., and it was voluntary.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they're credited with the first interracial
Well,
kiss
and
for some reason.
what was interesting and not surprising about the list I read was
I mean, the population.
all the men were
Yeah.
in all these interracial kisses. The first one, the man was always white.
Oh, of course.
That's the way it had. It is,
I mean, if you look at Wikipedia, First Interracial Kiss, Star Trek comes right up. But they also talk about soap opera Emergency Ward 10 in 1964, which was British.
that was a
soap
British
opera.
one, yeah.
And then Granada Play of the Week was broadcast in 62. There was some Jamaican actor, and then even the first interracial kiss on U.S. television, they said Adventures in Paradise in 1960. So why Star Trek is the one that frequently gets credited of, I'm not sure.
Because no one cares about those other
Popular.
ones.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to popularity
Yeah.
of
Or
the
It
show.
should be.
And,
But
and the impact that
the
the
type
social
of show
impact
it
it
was, too.
has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scripted or...
they also claim,
Yeah.
you
kind of-
don't actually see their lips touched, and
Yeah.
Stuff that you do.
Daytime
they said-
television versus primetime television.
yes.
And Mirror
Yeah.
Mirror, Shatner kissed Barbara Luna, who's a Eurasian actress, Barbara Luna. So
Oh.
they're saying that's...
Was she wearing paint, too, or something?
I don't know.
So,
So even on Star Trek, but this is often credited and often talked about, whether it was
Yeah.
officially or not. Whatever. It was still a big deal at the time.
Yeah.
I had a couple.
Here's something that'll make you happy, sorry.
So,
One of the other guest actors in this show, Derek Partridge, who played that Dion or whatever.
oh yeah.
His most recent credits are as Brom Titus in 3 episodes of Star Wars Rebels,
Oh wow. Huh.
just in the last couple of
Well,
years.
there you go.
First of all, as I was watching the kiss about to happen, the kid building up to it, I was expecting like a test pattern to show up like right at the moment. Maybe that's what they did in the 60s.
Technical difficulties.
That's if you buy the DVD in Alabama.
And so I didn't occur to me until you were saying the thing about Leonard Nimoy originally being the one who's supposed to kill. I wonder if that was that switch thing they were doing, that little tease was a reference to that, like the whoop, are we going over here? Are we going over here? And then
I don't know, but it made more sense to me to have Spock with Chapel given their past tension.
Right.
What is their past tension? Because I haven't watched it.
They've had several episodes where Chapel is into Spock. He's
Yeah.
made him like traditional pluming suit from Vulcan, and he's like, I'm not interested in you.
Yeah, like from like Naked Time, like 4 episodes in, they were
like
establishing
season
a
1.
thing.
Yeah, like it's been there forever.
But it's just
I guess I've just missed those
it was
episodes.
well, because it would be
It's
this
not
episode,
yeah.
and then what happened 8 episodes later,
Okay,
and then
Or
so it's
15
like
episodes later.
yeah,
I just
so
haven't seen the
this is
right
maybe the
episode.
7th reference in 760 shows or whatever.
And I mean, like, he was kind of the reason she didn't get the job on Star Trek anyway, so it had the
Yeah, but
entire
that's
long.
right. Yeah.
The original pilot of Star Trek The Cage, she played the first officer
Oh.
with dark hair. And Spock was in it, and the network said, we don't believe a woman in a command position, and we don't want an alien on the bridge. And Gene Roddenberry's, the creator of Star Trek, was like, well, I fought for Nimoy, and I married Majel Barrett. I don't think it would work the other way around. But then Majel Barrett dyed her hair blonde and said, here, put me on the show, they won't recognize me. And he said, okay.
I liked when Parman said, philosopher kings have no need for titles. I'm like, you just gave yourself a title at the beginning of that sentence.
I'm gonna be the philosopher king.
Well, he in that same like little speech, he did the thing. He's like, well, I forget what it was now. It's slipping from me. I even wrote it down. So, and he can't control it. Was my response. You can't control it. You have all this power, but yet you can't. You've been.
You're able to lock a starship into orbit around your planet tight that they can't do anything.
Yeah.
But you can't handle the simple
Well, Philana couldn't control how turned on she was getting in that scene.
I have that
she
note.
was getting hot and heavy.
Yeah, she was.
One of the reasons I don't like this episode, I'm just not into torture porn. To me, this is again, Star Trek
that's true.
was torture
I
porn
am.
before there was torture porn,
Yeah.
and
They
so
invented torture porn.
I hated it, every bit of it, except for one thing, and that was Barbara Babcock getting turned on by it. And they just kept cutting to her and cutting to her and
she's like,
cutting to her, and it was like she was more the filter was more glossy, and she looked better and better each time. So that is
Are
the
you sure
only
that's not
thing.
just your eyes getting glossy?
It could have been.
He was on his 5th vodka.
It's very
and that
possible.
hard
It was
shit.
my filter was getting better and better.
Yeah.
My note for that, like, because when it started in the beginning of, or in the middle of the episode, when they're doing all the movements in the hall, Shatner's really acting in that scene.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he is going for it.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Chris.
dang,
Which
he's
part?
killing it. The first time they ask McCoy to stay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, no! And then, so when they brought them all into the hall and they're all like, "Ugh," they look like
yeah.
marionette puppets
Yeah.
being
Puppets,
dragged through.
yeah.
And then they go to the hall and then they're doing all the horses and all the weird stuff. But
We got-
Shatner's just like going for
Yeah,
it.
he's
He
committed.
did not hold
And
back.
Alexander was riding him like a horse, and Marianne
Oh,
was
jeez.
quite
really
effective.
Well, and what was
Okay,
the
well,
whatever that sound
Yeah.
was?
I
Richard
did like
Driggs.
the two things. We did get 2
what
dance
comes out.
scenes.
Yeah,
No, 2 to 3 dance scenes because we got
2 to 3 too many.
Kirk
No,
For me, there was 2 to 3
no,
too
I
many.
liked the dancing.
I was so amused.
and Spock
Present
dancing,
day me.
and then
Did not.
Spock doing the little flamenco dance.
I like the Kirk and Spock dancing around each other. That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
That little- yeah.
I think the Alexander reminded me of Dobby from Harry Potter because they made him hurt himself every time he was about to
And
do
Parvin
something
did give him
wrong.
the sock to free him at the end. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean that was good.
I was just thrilled he survived because we talked
was
Marianne at the
so
end.
worried.
We both were thinking they were going to kill him.
I didn't remember
I thought he
him
was
leaving
dead
with
at all.
them.
Yeah.
As soon as he said, my notes were, as soon as he said, I want to go with you guys, I was like, that's
Oh,
it.
he's dead. He's dead. Yeah, me too.
We don't see him again.
Exact same point. Yeah.
Still don't see him again anyway, I guess.
No,
And
we
then,
don't. But
and then Kirk says, "Come on, little buddy." I love that part.
Oh, God.
no.
I've got a little surprise for you.
He's actually in the rest of the episodes, but the camera never pans down
Yeah.
to see him.
I mean,
Yes.
you know. No one on the ship actually wears pants. That's why.
So speaking of those little jokes, there was the like Alexander couldn't help but smile when he said the titular line at the beginning.
Oh,
Or Stepchildren.
Yeah, he did chuckle at that.
The Kirk slapping him.
Oh yeah, I have a note on that.
Yeah. Well, he didn't even look like he was even making contact.
He wasn't.
No.
So,
He wasn't.
So it's like,
Yeah.
He would move his mouth like he was being snapped,
yeah.
and it would go the opposite direction of where he was snapping.
We did have one great bad stunt double this episode where Spock was tap
For the
dancing
dancing,
or everything. That was not Nimoy.
yeah, there were 2 scenes where you could see during the dancing where I was like, that's
2
not
shots.
Nimoy.
Yeah, I mean, I figured the feet weren't him, but then we got a confirmation on the confirmation to
Yeah. Oh,
zoom
yeah.
out. Yeah.
The zoom out face was nothing like it, and then
No.
I mean, Nimoy's
1960s,
very angular
It's
It's
face.
still not even in the top 20 of bad stunt doubles.
No, not even
Oh
close.
my gosh, I can't wait.
No.
Oh yeah.
No, you've missed most of them. They don't have the budget this season for stunt doubles.
So go back to Kirk smacking himself. This will probably put a wrap on the Star Trek did it first thing, but that's Ed Norton in Fight Club.
One of the things I did like, because I haven't been here in a while, I noticed that there was no heavy filter on the women anymore.
Yes.
You know, that big glossy.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
They only do that when it's a romantic interest for Kirk.
Yeah, that was
okay.
Yeah.
But I was happy to see that. The women
Yeah.
are just as beautiful,
Yeah.
so...
Speaking of which,
Barbara Babcock does not
Yeah,
need
just
that.
kidding.
Doesn't need a filter.
No, she does not.
Just mine.
it is interesting that they managed not to make her a love interest for Kirk. I was
Yeah.
almost assuming that it was like, well, I guess
That's
we have
how
to
he
stay
would-
down. And
Yeah, that's how
here
he
now. It's like,
overpower him. Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I guess that's this, that's where this is going. No, it didn't.
It looked like she had interest in him, but not a romantic interest.
Yeah, she just wanted to torture him some more.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. She probably didn't even need to
Yeah.
have sex with him. It's just the torture was probably
Yeah.
enough to get her going. This is another powers note. Why did they beam the ladies down? Why didn't they just pop them down?
Well, they couldn't pop. They could move.
Yeah, well,
So
could
if they
take,
tried to move them from the spaceship down,
They forced them into the train.
Yeah.
Didn't they say they forced them into
Yes.
the train?
yeah.
Yeah, they would have died if they just like came out the airlock and went through the episode.
Right through the window. Just
I don't really understand their powers, clearly. 'Cause I just feel
Well,
like,
they don't either.
Yeah, well,
Writers
yeah,
didn't
I-
understand
yeah,
their powers.
No, they don't. They don't have the. They don't have that.
and see, that's where it always goes into that magic territory. I'm like, no, what are your powers?
That was the one thing I liked, the logic behind the power.
Yeah.
They did a very good job at actually.
That is-
Actually,
I will
I
give you
thought,
that.
I
I'll
thought
give you
Spock
that.
jumped to conclusions way too fast. Like, oh, 2 months. That must have been food in their system. Like it could have been any number of things.
Yeah.
I think he just
Yeah.
did that way
breathing
too
the
quick.
air. or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
No, I think that was
Sunlight.
bullcrap. I think that was bullcrap.
Red sun.
They also don't need Viagra on that planet. They just have to eat more fruit.
Yeah.
That's how they.
So I have
Grown.
2 comments about Spock singing. Was
Beautiful.
yes, I did like it. I said F yeah, and then I finally said I need this song, and then space. I got it now. 'Cause as soon as I was like, what is the name of the song? And went and like looked it up, and he actually produced it and wrote it and everything, and there you can go out and buy it, folks.
to
Is it called Bitter Dregs?
It is called Maiden Wine.
Dumb title. It should be Bitter Dregs.
the reason why that line sticks out in particular is, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, that was actually in the After Dark screensaver when Spock would get his Vulcan lyre, or lyre, however that's pronounced, and they would play that little clip, yeah. Oh, bitter dregs.
So the my last comment, I think that is that line from Kirk. Couldn't they have done like a second take where like you don't sound so freaking corny because I did it.
Oh, God,
Oh, that
so
was
funny.
the that was the 19th take.
Oh
no, I don't know.
my
I'm just kidding. He
I
just kept
believe it.
screwing it up.
Wait,
Kept crossing his eyes.
yeah. He's like, no, I want to say it like shake and bake.
No, you're absolutely
And I-
correct.
No, see, Shake and Bake came after this. They copied
They
Star
copied,
Trek.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it just
I don't really know when
seems
Shake
so.
and Bake-
What's such a corny delivery for that powerful
Oh,
line?
it was.
Yeah, I did. Sounds like a kid who just went to the bathroom and
Shake and Bake
for
was
the first
actually
time.
first introduced in 1965, but I don't think that commercial
Didn't have
until
a
after.
commercial, probably not. And
Yeah.
I helped.
Oh yeah, delivery. There was I had written here that Scotty tried out a new catchphrase at the beginning, and those are the facts.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was such a bad line.
We all kind of went,
We'll have to see if it catches on.
Although the lighting made his hair look a little white, and he actually has the haircut he has as an old man in the movies now.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm starting to finally see it, because having just watched the movies for a while when I was little, and then I turned on the episode, I'm like, that's not the same actor for Scotty, but it is.
Yeah.
And I finally saw a little bit of it in this episode. Steven hasn't given his alternate episode yet.
I do have that. It is they go to Socratonius. And there's lots of people dying from ingesting hemlock. That is the problem there.
My alternate episode is Kirk does reveal that he was not under mind control when he kissed Uhura. He just wanted to do it. And then Alexander gets jealous, and they have a little lover spat that ends in hot, passionate sex.
Wait, all three of them?
No.
Just the two.
Just the two.
Just
Kirk's
the-
like, she doesn't mean anything to me. You're my guy.
I love that.
I knew I was looking at Marianne as I said it.
My alternate would be the shenanigans that happen on the bridge while everyone else is downstairs. like just they're all like going about their business, and then Uhura just like
Yep.
Yeah, I do want to see Lieutenant Kyle the transporter go, I can't, what's going on?
I like the idea of somebody putting the moves on her, like, so, hey, you want to go down there? And she just starts leaving. Oh, you want to go now? Oh, cool. No, my quarters are right here. And she just keeps going. Oh, that's the transporter room. Oh, all right, well, call me.
bye.
And then she's gone.
Next time I'm at a bar and like if I'm getting hit on or something, I'm just gonna do that. And then walk away like a robot.
I'm trying to fight it.
Oh no!
I can't.
Your sexiness is repelling me.
My last two notes were just complaints about the episode. No,
Okay, go ahead.
just not a good start. And that first torture scene was long.
It was really long.
It went a long time, and I love torture porn.
I might give them gifts if you're going to torture them, like, immediately after.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they didn't expect.
Well, so
them
yeah,
to,
they were
like,
so.
to-
Oh, I'm sorry, Marianne.
They didn't expect them to
Say
to
no.
say
To
no,
fight back.
to fight back.
Oh, yeah, I
He's
guess,
like, here's
yeah, that
some
makes
gifts.
sense.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And then he's like, we also want your doctor to stay. No.
We just gave you gifts. You should give us one. Come
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
But-
But by
gift of healing and life.
by the logic they did, it's like, here's these gifts. Oh, okay, I'll stay. We're gonna blow up those guys and the gifts.
Well, you notice, as soon as they started to resist, they took the gifts away from them.
Yeah.
They did.
They didn't
That's,
go back.
that's true. But if they had walked out without resisting, by the logic in the episode,
They
They'd
were,
have still-
they were replicas. They weren't real.
that makes more sense.
You just remind me there was a great comedic moment that they missed out on there when.
Oh, no.
There were a lot of them.
Kirk is holding that shield in front of him just after he said, well, he apologized for losing control and torturing him earlier. He was like, that's okay, sure, I understand. And bonk. Shield. And Austin's like, got you again.
Okay, that was a good one.
That was good.
So what else? So when they had all the pottery flying around, of course it's for the way that it's being shot, the frame. But they're just like kind of ducking by that coffee table and
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
chairs
that
if that's
was
going to do
And
anything.
McCoy goes to cover his test tubes or whatever.
And then he abandons them.
Well, and I didn't
And they're, like,
understand
shaking it.
why the big chess game, they were making Alexander move the one, and the other guy was like, I'm just going to move them with my powers.
Because Alexander doesn't have the powers, it's another way to make him feel
Inferior.
yes.
I think he was playing the game, and the other guys were watching. is what
So
think it
I
was.
guess the takeaway is they never got sick. They got sick of everything else, but they never got sick of making Alexander feel inferior.
Correct. Correct.
That never gets old. Over
With
2,500
great power
years.
comes great responsibility.
and they don't have it.
Right.
No.
Because they did the absolute power
They were like-
corrupts, absolutely.
I did like at the end where Parman was like, you know what? You got through to me. I believe you.
That's what we
And
can
Kirk
talk
was
about,
like,
yes.
no, I don't.
The one thing I thought, though, when they're like, oh, other starships will come, I'm like, no. You just put that general order that they put on the cage for the Telesians.
yeah.
Every other
Nobody's
starship
ever
stays
gonna
away
come
from
near
it.
there, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
That ending just seems so
Abrupt.
abrupt and ham-fisted.
It didn't really make sense to me what was. I mean the thing was like they were don't do this again. We'll come back, or we're gonna hear about it, or it sounded like he was like, oh, you got me. Yeah, if you're gone.
That's what he was doing.
But I don't understand what it was he said that made Kirk say that to him. To say, oh, I know you. You're going to do this if we leave, but I'm going to leave.
Well, he said something along the lines of, you know what? You're right. You got through to me with your talk. I'm never, ever going to do this again. And
Kirk
Kirk's
was like,
"Yeah, you are."
don't forget though, if you do,
Yeah.
we can do this in like an hour, so you better watch out, because we'll come and stomp you
Better
out.
not cry.
There's a lot of winking going on. I felt like I won't do this again. Your thing really got to me. Wink.
So yeah, I guess I do have quite a few of these. Some of them were discussion points, but just get the other ones out of the way. Like there was something that would have appealed to Amanda, I think, earlier when Parman, they were just shaking him like a hysterical woman. That scene.
Oh yeah.
This fixed him.
Yeah. Just shake him. Get him out of it.
Break his
Shake him.
It works
concentration.
great on babies.
Slap him.
Shake
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was a line reading from Kirk where I was confused. Where he said, "We are happy without," and I thought he was trailing off and he was like looking at the grapes instead, but he was actually meant we were happy without powers. Just like we are happy without. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I remember that line too. I was like, huh? And because he was looking at the grapes so intently, I'm like,
We're happy without grapes. Grapes
I guess on a more.
we don't
yeah.
miss them at all. Those
Is he
delicious,
saying-
delicious words.
now I need to eat them.
Is he saying we managed to be happy without powers,
Yes.
or we're happy and we don't want powers? Because really, he's just saying, if you don't have powers, you have no
You're
choice.
fine, yeah.
You have to be happy without it.
Right.
So yeah, way to go.
I think somebody mentioned before the podcast that instead of just giving them a shot to give them powers,
Yeah.
they should have had like a competitive eating competition where
Yes.
they challenge them.
Right.
And then they get the power.
Well, and did they explain why Parman was the leader? Did
Well, they said it manifests different levels in different people.
Oh,
and
that's
he
what it
was the
was,
most
okay.
powerful mentally.
But they weren't additive.
Right. They
So-
couldn't combine. There
Which
was
is
no
interesting.
Captain Planet combine your powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one belonged in fashion where it looked like Parman was wearing a Green Lantern ring and like a Compassion Lantern.
He was DC
He
copies.
was decked out. He had the
rings were
bling.
very blingy.
He had the bling,
Yeah.
yeah.
I noticed that like one of them was like this big around, and
This big meeting.
About
I don't know.
You gotta describe
50
it
cent piece.
Is that like
auditorially.
a?
a 50
Like
cent
Like
piece.
a-
a Super Bowl ring.
So when Alexander was going on one of his rants there at the end about having powers and so forth, at the beginning when he was about to break the vase and go grab, he said, "But it wasn't me, it's them." Like, what was he talking about? It's them what? Like he said they've
With the
been giving me
power?
all this time and blah 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 blah, and I'm gonna.
I think
it's
that
them.
he's talking about like they're the issue, they're the problem, so I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah.
Even though he
There was a lot
really
of
can't.
destroying of vases.
Crockery was
They got a good discount.
Spock destroyed it with one hand. That was impressive.
Yeah.
When he
My-
was
my leg
recovering
there.
from having those emotions forced on him.
Yeah, I'm still confused about that. My note was so emotion kills Spock?
No, he has
No,
emotions
it
to suppress
doesn't.
them.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know why
They just
expressing
said
them would do
that.
it.
But they
'Cause I feel-
implied that it's going to kill him.
Yeah, well,
I feel like it would be harder for him to force them on him because by the logic of, well, the stronger minds, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
His
too.
mind's stronger than
yep.
theirs.
But
Yeah.
if you look, Spock is a slight second behind anything that Kirk does. So he can hold it off for just a tad bit longer.
Fair.
You gotta wonder too if it's really forcing emotion on him or just making him laugh. I mean, is he really?
Because he's
experiencing-
probably not feeling the joy. He's just doing the emotion, like acting.
Right.
I know. I think it was in the Nimoy documentary or whatever about him, but he talked about how he's having those emotions at the surface as a Vulcan, and that's what actors do. Is they always have all those emotions at the surface, and they're really suppressing them. They're not projecting them. So it's kind of, to me, it's a similar thing, I guess. There to your point, that it should have been easy for him to be like, oh, I can do this because
So you're saying the emotions-
I'm always holding them back. I'm always holding the laughter back. I'm always holding the crying back. But
True.
The sloppy thing with Kirk was a very generic kind of. It'll make you like him if you do this, and what I
Yeah.
really agree with the logic.
I
of
didn't
that.
think so either.
Stab him. All right. Well, that
Yeah.
problem solved.
I think
I was down
stab
with
him would have
stabbing
been
him.
fine.
Yep.
I think if somebody had killed Hitler, that wouldn't have made them like Hitler.
Yes. Well, I guess
Exactly.
it depends on how they
Perfect
did it.
example.
But, you know, stabbing him wouldn't do it.
Right.
Yeah,
I know
but
it's extreme
Starfleet
thing.
officers don't kill if they don't have to.
True.
But this guy
But
was
that guy can.
Yeah, but Kirk.
All Kirk
Kirk's
had
not
to do
gonna
was
stand there and watch somebody else kill. What if
all
does
he had
that?
to do was look away. I don't know. I was down.
Yeah.
I was down with
Yeah.
slitting the guy's
Yeah.
throat.
No, that's
Yeah.
not how Starfleet works.
Don't care.
That's
I
your
would've
basic
cut it
human instincts they haven't overcome yet.
There were-
Star Trek's they've overcome that.
There were a ton of other people that had the powers in there, so even if
Sure.
he hadn't stopped,
Barbara
the
Babcock
other-
would have just taken control.
yeah, any of the
Yeah,
others.
that's what I was thinking about the whole episode.
That's what Steven was hoping
And
for.
Moose was like, all right,
He's
you
like,
go
I'm gonna
in.
go visit that planet.
This also seemed to be a rare mention of the word Starfleet in the original series, at least.
I don't know. It all blurs together so much. I just assume they say it.
Not nearly as often as Next Generation.
Okay.
Interesting.
That would be an observation somebody like you would have to make that hasn't watched it a million times.
Right.
Men, women. Steven, you're with Natiri.
I'm with Barbara Babcock now.
You're going full
the
on?
most unexpected announcement.
I've got Mara, and I'm going to keep Mara, the Klingon. Keith, you have the Romulan commander.
I have to go with Falana at this point.
You joined Falana.
For several reasons.
I mean, I was tempted to go with Alexander, but
Well, apparently she is my type.
Falana is?
Yes,
because it said very handsome modern day Barbara Babcock.
She's blonde and kinky and looks 35.
Likes torture porn.
Even though she's
And
like
likes torture porn.
Yeah, she does.
Likes torture porn. So there you go.
Marianne, you have the theory as well.
I might switch to Alexander.
I don't blame you.
I like. I mean,
See, if the chemistry between Alexander and Kirk was a person, I would definitely switch to that.
I have. He had a very Warwick Davis vibe, and I have a huge
Oh, he
crush
totally does.
on Warwick Davis.
Totally does.
So it's like his voice even kind of matched a little bit at the beginning. I was like, oh, he sounds like Warwick Davis. I love him.
You are great.
Sam,
So
this
here's
is
what
your
you say.
first episode, season 3.
Yeah.
So you're not on anybody. You have to.
I can't keep Khan.
No, that was season 1. This is season 3.
God,
Whoa.
I missed an entire season.
You did one episode,
Yeah.
season 2. You did Insync Garavik
Oh yeah.
from Obsession. But it doesn't carry over season to season,
Yes,
so you gotta start over.
Don't show anybody.
Somebody in this episode. Anybody at all?
No, Falana's pretty hot.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that is.
I will say, while we're talking about Michael Dunn, just in passing, yeah, I think as a kid I watched it, was like, in my mind, 1970s mind, whatever it was, yeah, it's about the dwarf. But watching it this time, it was like, nope, it's about this poor dude who just happens to be a dwarf.
Yes,
So, yeah, kudos for that.
absolutely.
Even though I didn't like the episode overall.
So where would you rank it? We'll start
I'm
with
the
you.
outlier, because
We'll
I
start
would rate
with
it
you.
very low, probably. Above Spock's brain.
Well, I'd hope so. What about the Tholian Web, which was our most recent episode?
What's above the Tholian?
Day of the Dove, the Klingon episode.
Oh, see, I would rate it below that.
Below Day of the Dove?
Yeah.
What about Tholian Web?
Probably, because, yeah, we didn't really care for that.
So that's
Nothing happened.
number 5 in the rankings, which is exactly
Oh,
where I
okay.
was
Oh,
going for.
all right. Then we can
But
agree.
let's let other people weigh in. Well, you don't
No
count, Sam.
idea.
You don't count. Keith and Marianne, though, where do you think it belongs in the rankings?
It's above Tholian Web for sure. I would put it just slightly above the
Day of the Dove?
Day of the Dove. Yeah.
Yeah, now that we've talked about it, I realized, yeah, you're right. By the end of the season, this will probably be in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't even hate it
Yeah.
as much as...
Keith, what do you think?
I'm kind of inclined to agree about the being maybe slightly better than the Klingon episode, which seemed to have a certain kind of.
So now we got a tie going on.
I didn't have the same. I guess I didn't feel as distracted by the problems in this episode somehow.
I don't know.
He's like, nope.
Jerk cat.
I think I'm going to give in. Now that I look at the Klingon episode, I think I'm going to give in and then side with you guys and put it above Day of the Dove. Steven, you got outvoted.
fair enough.
But not by much. It's only up one place from where you would have done it.
I hate it. Number 4.
I mean, without Alexander, I think for sure would have been below.
Right.
I think the Kirky Her kiss was not a big part of the episode for me. Alexander himself was more interesting than what the Day of the Dove was.
He acted. He was such a good actor. I mean,
He was.
That's why.
Michael Dunn was great.
That's funny. I'd actually forgotten about the kiss, and that would even just. That
Yeah,
probably
the kiss was.
bumps it up.
That's what we talked about with this episode. Like, oh, this is the one with the kiss, and the kiss was like not what we're focused on at all.
There was
I wouldn't say it was
so much
disappointing,
more
it's
in the episode
Yeah.
that was worth talking about
Yeah,
Yeah.
than the kiss.
absolutely.
I think that in itself is a testament to what the '60s were like, and
Well, we're post-racial, so don't talk about it anymore.
my point though is that it was such a we barely even. It was such a nothing thing by our standards now today. It's
Yeah.
Even on level of kissing in general, just on
And
TV.
yet,
Yeah.
It's like-
the fact that Alexander was treated so well did make an impression on us 50 years later, which is also very sad to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, pros and cons.
Yeah, for me, it falls into what I consider all of season 3, which is some really great moments among a bunch of crap. So I think that's a great moment. I think there's some good moments in the episode, but overall,
Yeah.
like I said, I hated it. It's number 5.
We actually ranked it number 4.
Oh, 4. Oh, that's right.
It was 5 for you, but we
I
made
still
it
rank
4.
it number.
In my mind, it will always be 5.
It'll have an
See,
asterisk next to it.
until
because it's ranked.
until it sinks down.
If
or-
Marianne wasn't here, it was just you, me, and Keith. It probably would have been 4. Or 5. They made me rethink
There
it.
you go.
So next week, we're going to talk Wink of an Eye. A group of aliens who exist in a state of incredible acceleration invade the Enterprise and abduct Captain Kirk. That sounds
Love it. That's
awful.
why I wanted to come
Yeah.
to this one.
That sounds really bad.
I'm not excited.
Don't think I've seen it, or if I did, I forgot it because it was so bad.
I used to mix that up with by any other name, but now that
This is why I
Not
wanted
so
to
much.
come to this recording session.
The Enterprise
You mean next week?
responds
Next
to a
week, yes.
stress
I forgot. Next week. Yeah, I
From
want
the
to come to
planet-
next week's session.
Skalos. Okay.
yeah.
Yes, next week.
Illusions.
Next week we will.
I'm excited because I have all this. I do all the speedster stuff. So I love
That's
it.
true. And I think most of us will be back next week, except for Sam. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, come back next week.
We'll grace you with my
Well,
presence. this
we know you're coming back next week because we will compel you to come back next week.
Live long and prosper, or else. It's All Been Done presents.
Who's got the time?